switching gears to the San Francisco Giants, Vitello gets
Oh
a
boy.
second year. Yeah, oh boy. um, Cynical me, how much of that is because Buster Posey can say that knowing that we don't even know if the next season is happening at this point? Like, he gives himself a lot of wiggle room with that statement. And not that I think that Tony Vitello is the problem in any way, shape, or form. He hasn't been the solution, but the Giants' issues this year, I have not routinely been going, oh yeah, that's the manager. It's a flawed baseball team. No way around it.
Yeah, I think that was an interesting change I detected over the weekend, and one of the writers I work with is Andrew Baggerly,
Mm-hmm.
and we actually discussed this yesterday privately, that after both losses to the Rockies, there was a different tone at post game from Vitello. Now, for the Buster component, he's a smart guy. I mean, he hasn't put together the greatest roster, and you can question some of his moves, but I covered him for many, many
Mm-hmm.
years. When he was playing, he is a smart, calculated person. There's no reason for him to say anything other than I think Vitello is doing a great job, and there's no plans to change the manager. Like, why would you do that right now?
Yeah.
So I don't think that it's a fait accompli that he stays, but I do think that Vitello has noticed that he needs to change the tone of how he's perceived quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
On Friday, after Friday's game, he mentioned how sloppy the team was, the walks, and how that's something that really can't be tolerated, right? Then they win on Saturday. Okay, sure, it's the Rockies. And then yesterday's game was a complete tire fire.
Yeah.
So he came out and he said there was a team meeting. Apparently, according to Bags, they had actually to wait quite a while for his press conference to start because he was talking to the team. And what he said, I'm sure that you guys have been talking about in the airwaves today, is just how much, people are paying to watch this stuff. You can't walk 10 guys and have all these mental errors in the field and play this type of baseball that what do you call it? And the money quote obviously was JUCO baseball. They tried to say, well, I played JUCO baseball, so no disrespect to those guys. Yeah, I mean, but when you're comparing major leaguers to JUCO, I guess it was more disrespect to the players that are on the
Yeah.
major league team is what he meant. And what I saw there was someone who realizes that the narrative that's surrounding him is, hey, this guy, he doesn't have control of the clubhouse. He's letting these major league players run roughshod over him.
Mm-hmm.
And there've been questions about why was there no discipline for Raffy Devers when he usurped him at first base when Jonah Cox came out there. And also there was a pretty interesting part of that Britt Garoli piece in The Athletic about Buster saying that Vitello told the team before the season started to consider him as a teammate. And that did not go over too
Yeah.
well with a certain segment of the fan base, at least the people who read it or saw it online. So I think that he knows now that he needs to change that perception pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
He also, it probably is good to let the players know that there are paying customers, a lot of them, a surprising number actually for how bad this team is, who are watching this stuff and shouldn't have to watch baseball the way it was played on Sunday, especially Friday, not so great either, but Sunday was just abominable.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Krukow came out and said it was not not a pretty style of baseball that people want to go out and see. Now, there have been some more empty crowds for the Giants in the last couple of weeks, just because the writing is on the wall. But I mean, I still think people are going to come out because it's such a great time out. Not to steal from the Warriors, but there's never once we've been watching the Giants get demolished where I've been at that park and said, boy, I wish I wasn't here. And I just wonder how much that's just going to continue to cloud the Giants management, upper management, front office, their vision of what they need to do to make a pretty penny, because that stadium, and again, I've said, I do not want them to turn into the Rockies in terms of the fact like, hey, this is a great place to go and, get cheap beer and watch entertainments. I would like it to be a team that strives for excellence. But when there's not an economic incentive to win in the same fashion there might be for other ball clubs, I mean, the Giants have kind of found, they've threaded a needle here.
And that's been the complaint about the Cubs for decades, right? At least like in modern years,
Mm-hmm.
all right, we have this ballpark that everyone's going to come to anyways and make a summer trip out of it. So, as long as we're like semi fungible on the field and and actually able to do something, then it doesn't really matter. And I think they've gotten a little bit more pressure in recent years and tried to be a contending team. This year they're pretty decent. They were aggressive at the deadline. And yeah, that has been a question. It's sort of the questions fans have had about the Giants is are they relying on the park, and also are they more interested in the ancillary stuff around the park, the real estate development too?
Hmm.
Yeah, only they can answer that. So when they don't go hard spending money on pitching, then you can question that for sure. I think that you're going to see some pretty sparse crowds here in the next few weeks because school's back in session.
Yeah.
It's a real easy, fun thing, especially on the weekends. But during the weekdays when school's out, take your kids, right? And I do think also the fact that there are more people working in offices in San Francisco now than there were 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
That's helping a little bit as well. But also, I think this is the residual effect, the decent attendance this year of people being excited about Buster being the president of baseball operations, seeming like, harkening back to when everything was great and the city was on fire with Giants.
Yeah.
And now that the team has just been dreadful, and if there's a lockout, then I think that momentum is going to slow quite a bit. So I think the Giants, on one hand, might be like, all right, a lockout might be great, especially if there are some penalties inflicted on the Dodgers for doing what they do in terms of deferred contracts and spending. But also, if you don't have baseball for a while, and the last impression of Giants baseball was this, then how many season ticket renewals are you going to get?
Yeah.
So they are kind of in this place where, yes, right now it's great, but also I've heard behind the scenes that the Giants, even when you say, okay, they're averaging 34, 35,000 a game, they feel like they can't really profit until they're close to 40. Those sellout years are the ones where they felt like they were actually making little money.
Hmm.
So even like when the crowd looks pretty good for a game against the Royals, they're still looking at it like, no, we got to pack them in even more than this. And I think we have seen some cheaper tickets online recently as well on the secondary market.
Regardless of what happens with this next baseball season, whenever the next baseball season is played, do you think the Giants are going to take steps to try and make amends with the greater Bay Area culture that is their fan base?
Yeah, I think that they should. At least if I was in the organization, it seems like that would make sense. I don't know what steps they would take and who'd be in charge of deciding these things.
Yeah.
That was one thing that was kind of unearthed a little bit with the Pride Night thing, was it seemed like they weren't really completely on the same page in terms of who was going to talk and when and how we're going to figure this out and how we're going to get ahead of the situation.
Yeah.
And so they resorted to let's go head in the sand and hope it washes over us. Except for in this case right now, I mean, the WNBA is seeing this. When cultural war stuff happens, there are certain segments that are seize upon it
Yeah.
to grift and for money, and you could say that for both sides. I mean, people might argue one way or the other, but things like this do not go away because there's a certain segment that did not care a lick about the Giants, couldn't name one Giant, past or present, who seized on this right when it happened. And because it's like, oh, I can get a bunch of likes and a bunch of exposure and,
Yeah.
and all that kind of thing. So they're going to have to make some inroads here at some point. The best inroads, obviously, are to get talented players in who can play. I think that one thing that they have in their back pocket is that they have some really good minor leaguers, it seems like, especially on the position player side, coming through the system. And I think you're seeing a lot more San Jose Giants games on TV recently. At least I've noticed that. And Joshua Gonzalez is playing great
Hmm.
right now and had a walk-off hit just recently. And he looks electric. I think Luis Hernandez right now is more strong on the defensive side than the offensive side, but he's got offensive tools as well, and the Bo Davidson too. So that's the hope, really, is that and they promote, teams promote guys a little sooner than they used to. So maybe they're just hoping that, all right, if we get young, vibrant players, that's how we'll get the fans back. But I do think that there'll be some interesting things whenever baseball comes back. They used to have real big marketing strategies. Remember, they used to have commercials,
Hmm.
signs around town, slogans, all that kind of stuff. It's been a little quiet in the last couple of years, I think you might see a return to more aggressive marketing.
One of the things you referenced was the Giants' success being dependent on bringing in some talent and, the product on the field. One of the things that's become more and more of a reality is people bringing up taxes with California. I heard it from Barclay Goodrow of the San Jose Sharks at the end of the year. We have heard it just around from players. How come that's never a problem for the Dodgers and the Lakers? And I don't think I've really heard it brought up with the Warriors, to be fair. But why is there almost like a picking and choosing? And I'm not that it's a psyop or something, but I'm like, why is this brought up more with the Bay Area than it is with other parts of California?
I don't know. I think housing prices might be the mix too, along with it. So I think just
They're not
the
cheap though
overall
in
cost
LA
of,
or San Diego though.
no, I mean no, you're right. But the Bay Area, I think if guys want to live in a real nice area,
Yeah.
it's a little easier to do that in LA and find a place that isn't quite so egregious.
Mm-hmm.
If say like if you want to live in San Francisco because you play for the San Francisco Giants or the Golden State Warriors, and you look at like what's available, even like in a luxury condo and how much that costs. And unless you just are not smart with your money at all, I mean, if a money manager, they're probably saying, probably just don't do that because because you'll be broke by the time like 5 years after your career is over. So I think it's just I think it's all wrapped into one. They go get gas and it's too expensive. The tax bill is too much. The real estate is too expensive, and so the tax one is real easy because complaining about real estate is kind of broke boy status, right?
Yeah.
If you're an athlete, professional athlete, no one's going to be like, "Well, sorry that you wanted a luxury crib and it's not working out for you." But everyone can get on board with taxes being too high, right? So I think that's just sort of the issue du jour with the overall cost of living being so high.
Yeah.
But yeah, that you don't really hear with the Dodgers and the Lakers and the Warriors. Maybe just the NBA, it's not that kind of culture.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, Carmelo Anthony made waves not that long ago when he was on a podcast talking about, how he made all this money in his career, but you don't make that much because you're paying your agent and also you pay taxes in every single city that you play in during the season, yada, yada, yada. And everyone's like, okay, we're shedding, huge tears for you here.
Yeah.
So I do think maybe it's one of those deals where it's just one of those things where they all kind of talk about it internally,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe just some Bay Area athletes have mentioned it more than others. Yeah, I've heard from, I've actually heard Niners guys say the real estate is too high. It's at certain points. I never heard the tax thing, but yeah, it is a little bit weird. I don't know. I mean, it's one of those deals where the regular person who lives here goes, really, you're going to whine about that with your salary?
Yeah.
But yeah, these guys live in a different world than us.
The thing that's interesting, and not that I'm going to be as much of the Bay Area liberal Ted that I am, but if you look at the non-taxation but made up for on the other side of state taxes with property taxes in both Texas and Florida, which are seen as quote unquote tax havens, you end up spending more money to live there than you do in California. So I just find it a weird argument that was never there. It's not like California's gotten suddenly that much more of a tax heavy state than it was, 5-10 years ago. But now it's become a consistent storyline. I just find it fascinating.
That is an interesting point, and it probably is because a lot of these guys actually don't own property in the Bay Area. They rent, and then they go move to, like, a lot of the major league players live in Arizona during the off season. So I think that might be a part of it as well. A lot of them live in Tennessee. I don't actually know the Tennessee property tax situation, but just looking, I mean, just for some reason, I have not been researching Nashville real estate and property tax prices.
You didn't know
I
there
guess
was going to be a
should.
quiz.
But they're all flocking there. I mean, baseball players, the Niners have a bunch of people. I think Purdy and Kittle and Robert Stahl all live like real close to each other in the Nashville area. So I think that probably what they do is they look and they go, okay, well, I'll rent here. That's fine. I can swing that. I'll live somewhere else that is cheaper during the off season and own real estate there. But man, these tax bills I'm getting on my paycheck, this is really annoying. And my money manager told me I can't buy this because you're not making as much after taxes as you thought you would, that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, it's I just find it interesting, but we can't crack the code here. But Mr. Berman, I will let you go. You've been very generous with your time as always, and I promise I will bug you again soon. All right, man?
Oh yeah, please do, Ted. Thank you.